no racetrack of its own. It's being held on the magnificent 3.1-mile circuit at nearby Imola. And the European season's getting into top gear straight away in front of a truly fanatical crowd. For Imola's near Maranello, the home of Ferrari, and Milan, the home of Alfa Romeo, and there are 5 Italian drivers in the race. After Long Beach, Brazil and the Argentine, Carlos Reutemann leads the World Championship from his Williams teammate, the reigning world champion Alan Jones, with Nelson Piquet in 3rd place, 9 points ahead of Patrese and Prost. But here, at a wet and overcast Imola, after more political squabbling and contention over car specifications, to the delight of the partisan crowd, their idol, the French-Canadian Gilles Villeneuve, is right back on top in pole position in the revised 1.5-litre turbo Ferrari. Second fastest, it's the World Championship leader, Carlos Reutemann in his Williams. Then, 3rd and 4th fastest, the turbo Renaults of René Arnoux and Alain Prost. Nelson Piquet's 5th ahead of Didier Pironi in the 2nd turbo Ferrari. John Watson's a superb 7th in the new Marlboro MP4, but Alan Jones is only 8th. Both Brian Henton and Derek Warwick in the new turbo Tolmans failed to qualify. So did Derek Daly, and the Lotus team have withdrawn after the disqualification of their new car. So a quick check on the grid, and it shows Villeneuve in pole position alongside Carlos Reutemann. The 2 turbo Renaults, Arnoux and Prost. 5th and 6th, Piquet and Pironi. And there, 60 laps, 188 miles, and the lap records held by Alan Jones, 1 minute 36.1. The lights go green, and it's go. It's a beautiful start, and Reutemann's through in the lead, but no, Villeneuve takes him, and Pironi's coming up fast on the outside as they go up towards the Tarambello, and then onto the Rettifilo and the Tosa, and it's Villeneuve, and then the 2nd Ferrari of Didier Pironi, and behind them it's Reutemann and Alan Jones, and that is Guerra, Angel Guerra, the Argentine driver, out of the race already in a nasty-looking crash, and up towards the Piratella go the leaders, and it's the 2 Ferraris, and the Italian crowd will go wild when this lap is completed, because Villeneuve is leading. There's Nelson Piquet about halfway down the field, number 5 in the Brabham, 27 Gilles Villeneuve, and take no notice incidentally of the numbers in the top right-hand corner of your screen. They're camera position numbers, but it's Villeneuve leading, Pironi in 2nd place, then Reutemann, then Jones, then Patrese ahead of Arnoux, and it's one of the Alfa Romeos in 7th position, and it looks like Mario Andretti, and it is. And from there up to the Varietta Alta, and then down, 3rd gear, 4th, 5th, and a very quick part of the circuit, the Ferraris lead.
That was very interesting to see at the start there. There was a clear demonstration of the power of these Ferraris, because with their turbocharged engines, because Reutemann got away from the 9 really best, and the 2 Ferraris, it's a long straight up to the first corner, and Pironi had come right through, and they'd gone well clear. So that was a big demonstration, and power definitely suits this track here. Particularly, of course, it will be more of a help should it dry out.
End of the lap, and it's Ferrari, Williams, Arrows cars in the first 5 position. Villeneuve, there he is, number 27, Pironi behind him, and there is Patrese, just in the background. Riccardo Patrese in the orange Arrows has gone through into 4th position ahead of world champion Alan Jones, and there is the Arrows. Behind him, the Williams of Alan Jones, then René Arnoux in the Turbo Renault. But just look at the pace of these Ferraris. The question is, though, will they last the pace? A lot of people accuse them of turning up the turbo pressure in practice to get maximum power for a good lap speed in practice ahead of the Italian crowd. And will they last? Angel Guerra trapped in the car. Now that looks a very nasty one indeed. It looks as though his foot's trapped, his left foot is trapped, as up to the ambulance goes Villeneuve. Pironi in 2nd place, Reutemann 3rd, and Patrese 4th.
Well, of course, look, there's Alan Jones's car. Look at the front wing on his car. He's probably had it coming together, because it was definitely all right a couple of laps ago. I would suspect in the early sortings out he's hit something, and I doubt whether he'll be able to carry on at full speed at any rate like that for very long. Presents him with an interesting problem. There is Jones in the pits now. is he going to change onto dry tyres? Because he'd be stupid to have to stop twice. He can do both jobs at once, but of course the track is drying out, but is it yet dry enough to run properly on dry tyres?
Well, that's Eliseo Salazar, the Chilean driver, in the march. He's qualified well for the race, and his teammate Derek Daly did not. And that's Alain Prost, the French driver in the Renault, out of the race. And now it looks as though the Ferraris are establishing dominance, a very interesting technical point. But the Brabhams, with their hydro-pneumatic suspension, have been copied by Arrows, by Tyrrell, by Fittipaldi, and they're holding the pace well. It's the last race of the Renault 20 before they bring out the new 30 for Zolder, and the Talbot Matras aren't doing very well. There's the position after 3 laps. Villeneuve and Pironi, Ferrari, then the Williams of Reutemann, Patrese in 4th position, and there's the end of another lap as Gilles Villeneuve, the 29-year-old French-Canadian, goes through in now quite a commanding lead.
On the question of the Ferraris turning up their boost pressure for practice, Murray, I think some of the drivers are taking an attitude. I gather that Piquet said that he'd like to try and get behind the Ferraris and then let them break down, wait for them to break down. Of course, in wet conditions, there's far less strain on the car. I'm quite sure they wouldn't have done anything stupidly enough. The Ferrari team, they're great people for finishing. They won't have turned up the turbo pressure to a dangerous level.
And that's Patrese there. Patrese in the orange car has taken Carlos Reutemann and 3rd position. So now it's 2 Italian cars in the lead and an Italian driver in 3rd position. A wonderful situation for this partisan Italian crowd as Patrese goes ahead of Carlos Reutemann. And Reutemann, by the way, has finished 13 races in points order. He's scored points, and that's John Watson, who was in 6th position. That's the new Marlboro MP4 car. He's had a new nose cone put on the front of it, and it's a question of whether he has changed tyres as well, as the 2 dominant 1.5 litre 500 horsepower plus Ferraris V6s go through. Villeneuve still absolutely on the ragged edge, because this car may go very quickly, but it certainly does not handle very well, as nor does Arnoux Renault. Arnoux off, he was in 6th position, and that's Hector Ribac in 7th position and closing up on him. And we've just had news from the far side of the course that Nelson Piquet has gone up to 5th position. So now the Brabhams are 5th and 6th, and there is Hector Ribac with René Arnoux, and the race is well and truly on, and Ribac going through and taking René Arnoux. So the Mexican driver is doing extremely well in this race in the Brabham.
Yes, Hector Ribac is certainly driving with increasing confidence. Here we see a replay of his overtaking manoeuvre on the Renault. He dives inside very neatly, takes the turbo car a little bit by surprise, and it's a very good effort, particularly in these difficult, slippery conditions.
Pironi leads, Patrese 2nd, Piquet in 3rd position, Reutemann in 4th place, Ribac is 5th, and René Arnoux is 6th, and there is Villeneuve going into the pits, the race leader, Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari into the pits, and Pironi, his teammate, there he goes, takes the lead in the San Marino Grand Prix, and absolute pandemonium in the pits.
Interesting decision, Murray, by Villeneuve, because if it is just tyres he's gone in for, he is the first person to change onto dry tyres who hasn't been forced to do so by him needing to stop anyway for other reasons. And be interesting to see if the leader should have gone in that early to put dry tyres on in these marginal conditions.
It's hardly a lightning fast pit stop, and that's Keke Rosberg in the Fittipaldi on Avon tyres, incidentally. Another tyre manufacturer has joined the Formula One tyre war, and Villeneuve blasts out, and that, according to my stopwatch, was a 32-second pit stop, and that's a long time, much longer than it should have been. Villeneuve out on slicks, and the position on lap 16, then Ferrari leads with Pironi, then Patrese, Piquet in 3rd position ahead of Reutemann, Hector Ribac in the 2nd Brabham, and René Arnoux in the Turbo Renault in 6th position. And that's Villeneuve in the Scarlet Ferrari, And there is Jean-Pierre Jabouille, the ex-Renault driver, in his first race in the Talbot, who broke his leg so very badly in the Canadian Grand Prix, and it looks as though his race isn't lasting very long, as we look at the battle for 7th position between Mario Andretti there in the Alfa Romeo, followed by Giacomelli, then the Italian Andrea De Cesaris in the McLaren car, and Eddie Cheever in 10th place in the Tyrrell. And that's a great scrap. Look at the way they're going. Didier Pironi, who won in Belgium last year, who led at Monaco, and he was driving in the Ligier then, who also led in Spain, but only won one race when he could well have won 3, and it looks as though he's now on his way to his 2nd Grand Prix win. Didier Pironi then, there he goes, this very quiet Frenchman who shattered the Formula One world at the end of last season by calmly announcing that he had in fact signed for a Ferrari very early on in the season and had kept it